President Trump officially has his first primary challenger. Bill Weld announced his candidacy for the Republican nomination late Monday. The former Massachusetts governor has been mulling a run for months. It won't be his first shot at presidential politics. Weld appeared on the ballot in 2016 as the Libertarian Party's nominee for vice president. Weld faces an uphill battle. President Trump's re-election campaign announced Monday it's raised more than $30 million in just the first quarter of 2019. That total far surpasses any other candidate, Republican or Democrat, in the race. Let's bring in Kayleigh McEnany. She's the National Press Secretary for the president's 2020 campaign. Kayleigh, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine.
So how seriously is the president's campaign taking a challenge by Bill Weld?
Not seriously at all. And we would refer you to the Republican National Committee. They've said quite clearly that there is no primary challenge. They support President Trump. And what they're saying is reflecting what Republican voters across the nation have told us. President Trump has the highest own party approval rating of any president in either party, with one exception, and that's Bush during 9/11. He also got more votes in a Republican primary than any nominee in the history of our party. So our voters have sent a pretty clear message. They stand with the president. The RNC has reflected that. We're unconcerned.
So the campaign and the president are not even entertaining the idea of some sort of primary debate?
No, not at all. We're focused on the Democrats. We're focused on that field and the run against socialism that we see on the horizon.
I want to ask you about fundraising. The president's $30 million total is even more than the combined donations for Senators Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris. They were the top two fundraisers on their side of the aisle in the first quarter. Where are the bulk of your donations coming from? Can you break down the numbers for us?
Sure. The bulk of them are coming from small donors. Of our contributions, nearly 99% came from small donors of 200 or less. That is quite striking. And the Republican Party hasn't always been known as the party of small donors. Well, that all changed with President Trump. You can check a PolitiFact article that notes that President Trump raised more than Hillary and Bernie combined in small donors. So he's really brought a type of grassroots energy into our party that we've not seen in the history of our party. And that's fueling our coffers over at the campaign and at the RNC.
I want to ask about strategy. Axios is reporting the Trump campaign is spending nearly half of its Facebook ad budget to target users over 65 years old. Why is that? And what message does the campaign want to tailor, in particular, to older voters?
Well, it's no secret that older voters have been quite loyal to our party. But not only that, they show up and they vote. They're a reliable voting base. The Republican Party's depended on them for quite some time. So it's unsurprising that we would target this group. And it's not just this group. It's a lot of different groups. We want to appeal to the millennial generation. We believe we have a strong economic message there and bring in new voters. So we're looking to expand the Trump map. And some of our data from our El Paso rally indicates that we are indeed doing that. In fact, half of those who registered at the El Paso rally were Democrats. So there's a strong base of Democrats who have come out and supported the president in 2016, and we believe we'll do so in 2020.
I want to ask a bit more about messaging. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters last week the 2020 election would be a referendum on socialism. But we've seen President Trump focusing a lot on the issue of immigration. Are you concerned at all that that focus might overshadow what has been some positive economic news and an economic message?
No, because we believe that President Trump is able to carry two messages at once. You know, I'm often asked what's the most important message for the campaign, but immigration and the economy pretty much rank very high on that list. The economy, of course, we see wages growing twice as fast for those in the bottom half of the income spectrum. That's extraordinary. But there's also an immigration component to this message. National security is important. Border security is important, especially when Obama's Secretary of DHS, Jay Johnson, notices and can attest to the crisis on our southern border. So both messages are key in 2020, and we can carry both, including the message against socialism.
On immigration, when he announced his candidacy in 2015, the president said he'd build a wall on the border. It's not built yet. The president himself has said there's a crisis at the border. So what are the specific accomplishments that he plans to point to run on in 2020 with respect to immigration?
Well, by the end of 2020, President Trump will be able to point to 450 new miles of barrier along our southern border. Why that is possible and made possible is because of the national emergency declaration. We haven't had a Congress willing to work on us. We would have needed 8 Democrats, even when we controlled Congress, to secure border wall funding. It didn't happen. But the national emergency declaration has allowed President Trump to pave the way for this mileage, 450 miles of southern barrier structure. So we'll be pointing pointing to that. And the president's been an unmistakable advocate for border security. Our base of our party is very clear on that, and we're prepared to take that message to everyone.
Kayleigh, what about some conservatives who say in addition to the border wall, they would like to see other regulatory actions taken when it comes to the issue of immigration? And they say there was opportunity to do that when, in fact, Republicans had control of Congress, and are wondering now, what exactly is the president planning on doing on that front?
Well, President Trump is going to do everything and has explored every option within his constitutional powers. He's not going to go beyond those powers. He's going to stay within. And he's done all that he can with the emergency declaration, with the veto that he issued, with the withdrawing of aid from countries that have been an origin point for some of the illegal immigration we've seen. So he's taken a number of measures as well as exploring a number of others. But he can't do this unilaterally. We need Congress to fix the TVPRA. We need Congress to fix the Flora settlement agreement, these things that are really the cause of a lot of the influx of illegal immigrants we're seeing. So he needs a willing partner in Congress, but he's done pretty much all he can do and will continue to explore every option within his executive Article 2 power.
So you announced it on an April 27th campaign rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin today. And this is a state that Democrats, as you know, are prioritizing this time around after losing it in 2016. Does that concern you at all, Kayleigh? Do you think you can win the state again?
We don't, and here's why. The president in 2016, and I would argue Bernie Sanders tried to do this as well, made an argument to the Rust Belt, saying, I'm the one who can bring back manufacturing. Both parties, at least a component of the Democratic Party, was making that argument. Well, now President Trump can stand toe-to-toe with whoever the Democratic nominee is and say, I didn't just make a promise, I have deliverables. I have the fact that manufacturing is revived in these states. I have the fact that I'm battling in trade deals across the globe, that jobs have come back, generational lows in unemployment, wages going up, as I mentioned at the beginning of this. He has deliverables. He has proof, not just promises. He has proof. And we're prepared, and we're certain that we can win those states again with the proof that we have of the success of the Trump presidency.
A topic that dominated the midterm elections was Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report. Now that the investigation is over, how much do you expect the president to talk about Mueller on the campaign trail?
We expect to bring this up along the road to 2020, no doubt about it. President Trump for 2 years has said Democrats are lying. I've been fully and completely exonerated. I've done nothing wrong. Now he will take that message to the American people. Fair to say it will come up along the path to 2020, especially because it poses such a credibility crisis for Democrats who promised collusion and obstruction where there was none. So we look forward to that full report coming out this week.
Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Elaine.
Coming up, Bernie Sanders touts his tax returns on Fox News. After spending years railing against the excesses of wealthy Americans, he's not apologizing.